Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm Tanya, doctor, lawyer turned homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 8, 5, and 3. They will be turning 9, 6, and 4 in the fall, however, which is why I labeled the front of my new Plum paper planner this way for homeschooling next year. My friend Lindsay over at Mama Shmoo's Homeschool Reviews and I are continuing to do our homeschool planning series this summer, with our first video having been about planning supplies, this video about long-term planning, next week's video about short-term daily planning, and the week after that will be about our homeschool record keeping, and then finally how we maintain a homeschool binder. So if you're interested in homeschool planning and planning in general, be sure to check out Lindsay's channel over at Mama Shmoo's Homeschool Reviews, and don't forget to subscribe to this one as well. Last year we both did a homeschool planning palooza, so if you want to check out even more homeschooling planning reviews, go ahead and check those out. I have definitely been through a plethora of homeschool planners if you want to review the planning playlists in my channel, because I have used, in no particular order, a Plum paper homeschool planner, a Lime Life homeschool planner, and a day designer for homeschool planning purposes, as well as a Hobonichi for bullet journaling in homeschool planning. And now I have decided to revert back to a Plum paper planner. Although I loved using bullet journaling for my homeschool planning in my Hobonichi planner, I really missed doing personal journaling, just free writing in my Hobonichi. So this fall I'm going to return to personal journaling in my Hobonichi, and I decided to continue bullet journaling for my homeschool planning purposes in a planner that I loved, the Plum paper planner. However, I did not buy the teacher planner or homeschool planner version of the Plum paper. Instead, I bought a personal version of the Plum paper planner, and I will be using it for bullet journaling, as I'll show you later. Just briefly to show you which format I bought, it looks like this, and I've just whited out my children's names there. But basically it comes as a 2-column format with a box that you can customize up above, and you can customize the titles of these 2 columns as well. And then you have the dates running down the side here in a vertical format. Next week I'll be discussing this format and how I'm going to use it for daily planning in more detail, but right now I want to show you how I'm planning out our long-term plans for the year. In the back of my planner, I added these checklists, and I added quite a few pages, if you can see, of them. I actually have no idea how many, but definitely more than originally comes with it. This is one of my favorite things about the Plum paper planner, is that you can so easily customize how many pages you need of what particular section, etc. for your needs. I had always puzzled over how to use these sort of grading checklist pages, because I didn't need so many pages to track attendance. I don't track grades at this elementary stage yet. So what I really wanted to do was come up with an easy way of tracking my year without tying it to dates. Because I learned over all the dated planners that I used that format really built a lot of stress for me. It really made me feel like I was always falling behind whenever I could not meet a particular date. So I would start putting flags on different weeks, and we would be at week 30 for one thing and week 10 for another. I didn't know what to do with these grade sheet type pages. They seemed very well suited towards tracking assignments, for example, for multiple students, for a classroom teacher, or for attendance, but I didn't need 20 pages of attendance, etc. And I don't track grades in our homeschool, so I was at a loss for what to do with them. This year, I decided to continue doing a bullet journaling style of daily planning, and I decided to extend that bullet journaling style to my long-term planning. Every page is labeled with a student's name and a subject area, and then the resources that we're using for that subject area. I left ample room so that if we decide to add in additional resources, I can add that. If I decide to take one out, I'll simply X out this line or white it out with washi. As you can see on the close-up view, for each curricula, I have divided out the pages or lessons. So for example, in this curricula, Building Thinking Skills, the primary level, it actually has 260 pages. I didn't want to write out 1 to 260. One, because in general, in this book, she will be doing more than 1 page at a time because they're very swift pages. And 2, because that's just a lot of numbers to write out. So I chunked it out by 5s, and I counted out by 5. So every time we get to one of these milestones, like page 60, page 65, I'll just highlight in that box. And that way I'll be able to visually gauge at a glance how far we are in any one bit of curriculum. For example, here, Mindbenders, on the other hand, is just 1 through 29, because I believe it has either 1 through 29 problems or 1 through 29 pages. And we'll just highlight as we go. Simple, easy peasy. To give you an idea of how I do that, you can look at where I've tracked out All About Reading Level 1. All About Reading Level 1 has about 53 lessons. The way you find that out is really simply by looking at the teacher's manual, opening up the table of contents, and seeing exactly how many lessons are in this book. I will caution you that if you're a new homeschooler, some lesson plans and some table of contents don't actually correspond to days, and by gridding it out this way, they don't have to. It doesn't matter if it takes us 5 days to get through lessons 1 and 2. I'll simply highlight it when we finish it. It's not tied to any day up at the top or anything. It's simply tied to itself. It is a measure of progress through the curricula. It does not measure at all time. So for example, if we get in All About Reading, if we are through 19 by halfway through the year, I'll know that we're halfway through the year, but we're not quite halfway through the curriculum, because visually I can tell that halfway through the curriculum probably falls around here. Same thing for first language lessons, etc. So it gives me a really easy way of seeing how far we are in any one curricula. If I see, for example, that we are getting really far ahead in the good and the beautiful, but we're kind of lagging behind in All About Reading, I'll just shift our work for that week to maybe focus on All About Reading a little bit more so we can catch up, or not. This frees me entirely from any type of calendar planning at all, and I love that. I've actually done this for all of my older 2 students' subjects, and it makes it really easy for me to see how much we have to do, if it's too overwhelming, etc. By the time you get through about a quarter, you should be able to see, have I planned way too much for this year? Is this just overwhelming? And in that case, I'm just going to put a little asterisk next to something and say, like, delayed till the 2019-2020 school year, etc. It really does not matter to me. Completion here is not the goal. Basically, it's to see where we are. And if I have to do this again, for example, if we haven't finished 180 days of language and I want to carry it over into next year's work, I will know exactly what page we stopped on, and the grid for next year will start at that point. And it's a really easy way to follow through with curricula to see where you are, etc. And I'm really excited about doing it. I've done this for my son and for my middle daughter. In my littlest daughter's case, she's in preschool, and I don't really track her work in this way. We do workbooks and things like that, but completion is really not the goal for me there. I pull from many different resources, and I really just want to keep it fun. But yeah, in a nutshell, this is my long-term planning. The other feature that I've added to our long-term planning are these notes pages. Plum Paper Planner gives you the option of adding to-do lists either at the end in one big section of to-do lists at the end of all your months, or you can add them at the end of each month section. So here, for example, is at the end of the October section. Here you see the November tab, and it's just 2 pages of to-do lists. So it's 8 pages if you go double-sided. Basically, each page comes with these 4 blocks of to-do list items. They have a little dot here, a little grayed out dot that you can check off or whatnot. And I've labeled them with key elements of our homeschool culture, much of which is drawn from Julie Bogart's Brave Writer lifestyle. So here we have Mail Monday, because every Monday we like to write to someone, either friends or family, and that's basically a lot of how we practice writing, creative writing, as well as just the mechanics of a letter and how we want to care for others. I find it to be a very engaging activity, not only academically, but in terms of heart education as well, how we should care for others, how we should think of others, etc. And really, isn't that the point of writing, to communicate with others? I like having that be a key part of our homeschool from the get-go. Another section is for movies, and here I include things like movie night movies they might watch in the car, just things that they're exposed to, because I find that to be a key part of culture. When you grow up as an individual, movies are a real cultural bulwark. You should be able to talk about movies. I want my children to grow up to be strong conversationalists. I want them to be interesting people and interested in the people around them. So that's what we do in our homeschool right now. So here's documentaries. So this will include YouTube videos and documentaries that we watch for school or for entertainment. Read alouds. So this will have a lot of our morning time read alouds, as well as just read alouds that we do together as a family. On the next page, you'll see that I've blocked out their names, but here you have my son's reads and my daughter's reads. So this is if we read something just to them, or if they have readers that they are reading from themselves. This is where I will list it out. Here we have our STEM activities. This includes things like Kiwi Crate and just creative things that we might do with other clubs or homeschool co-op, etc. Here you have a section for handicrafts. If you've been following my channel, you know that I'm an eclectic homeschooler, and I like to meld in different elements of a Charlotte Mason education with a more modern education and some Waldorf elements. You see here fine arts, so that'll include like art and music exposure, field trips, game schooling. We're very big into game schooling in our homeschool. We love playing games. I think it's one of the best ways to teach things like number theory and just concepts like shape and color recognition, etc. Here you have service and random acts of kindness. So I really want to incorporate more of this year in a more intentional way, where every week we try to do something of service to either our immediate community or the world at large. And then I have 4 blank ones on the last page, and I haven't quite yet decided what to do for these. I might put in things like life skills, so I want to do a little bit more cooking and repair and things like that this year. Some nature walks if we go to specific areas, which is a little bit different than field trips. And I haven't thought of the other 2, but I like having blanks. And the reason for that is because every single month we might not get to everything, but this way, if we do something interesting or that doesn't quite fit into one of the other categories, I have some extra room to catalog that out. And that is basically it. It's a very simple way of tracking out our year. In terms of tracking out our entire year at a glance, Plum Paper Planner does come with 2 calendar spreads at the very beginning. So you have a yearly spread for 2018, and then you have a yearly spread for 2019. I plan to track our school attendance on these pages, although I do have another section for school attendance. Basically, most days, if we homeschool, all 3 of my children are homeschooling. So I will use this, and if we highlight it for a homeschool color, we are all in homeschool. If one of us is missing, I'll simply create a code for that. For example, like a triangle will mean that one of the students is out, a square will mean that another one is out, perhaps a circle will mean that 2 are out. I will figure it out as I go, but that'll be a fairly simple way of tracking attendance. The planner also includes a 2-page spread from January through December for special dates. I plan to use these for visits. So if we have family members visit or friends visit, or if we visit them, like we actually go out of our state, then this will be where we catalog that. It's more than just a field trip, it's an actual journey. Every month opens up with this type of cardstock divider page in the Plum Paper Planner. You have 3 goals here. You have a section for birthdays, for events, things to remember, and 2 blank categories that you can label yourself. I actually haven't decided how to use these, but I will use the other sections for exactly what they're labeled. If there's any specific events going on, for example with co-op or special field trips, I'll put them here. Things to remember will be perhaps supplies to gather, birthdays, so that we make sure on Mail Mondays we write to certain people. And our goals, I'm just going to put very simple goals that we have for that month. So if we have something like a bucket list for September, that's where that will go. So if we want to go, for example, apple picking, that'll go there. If we want to go see a particular movie, that'll go there. And those will be our like reach for them goals. They're not quite scheduled in, but we really do want to do them. The next page is just a blank page, and I plan to use that just as a scrap paper. Every single month comes with one, and I find that really, really helpful. The following page has a monthly calendar for each month. There's a section for notes here. It's unlabeled, and then you have the actual calendar laid out. If you'll notice, the month prior is in a slightly lighter shade of gray, and then this month is in a darker shade of gray for the dates. I plan to include any kind of field trip, activity, etc. here. So any class, basically our homeschool schedule, but it will not include any part of our life schedule. So if it's not related to homeschool, it won't be on this calendar. I would be remiss not to include the fact that I did include a homeschool planning section within this planner. Again, I love Plum Paper Planner for this. They allow you the option of including sections or not, even in a personal planner. So although I didn't get the homeschool version of the planner, I did get a homeschool section. I only got one because it was more important to me to incorporate more checklist pages, and I ran out of the number of pages I could get. So I decided to get just one homeschool section because I don't plan to use it that much. Right here I have our year goals, and basically it's designed for one student, this little homeschool planner section. So the homeschool planner section, if you add it to your planner, is 10 pages, and it basically starts off, it has this school year. It's designed for one student. I'm going to use it for all of us. So what I decided to do here is I split out students' academic goals into 4 little sections, but really 3 blank ones for each of my children. And then I have just simple places to put our academic goals as a teacher, the students, and our general goals. So our goals include, for example, more movie nights, nature journaling, family walks, coffee shop school, gun safety, play dates, art class, one-on-one dates, lemonade stands, coin rewards, movies out, Shakespeare, mythology, and family meetings. So I just sort of listed out kind of a mission statement for myself, and also just how I want to incorporate more fun and our own family culture. They have 2 pages for Homeschool Resources here with subject, book, website, and the cost. I actually don't track them out in a written form. I save all my emailed receipts in a folder per year, and then I transfer that into my homeschool record keeping. They have 2 more pages for Homeschool Supplies here, where they block out administrative items, student items, arts and crafts, and miscellaneous. So the previous 2 pages were for curricula. And then they have 2 pages for an attendance record. I dislike how Plum Paper Planner has done the attendance record. It's very pretty to look at, kind of like candy dots, but I guess you'd either have to check them or X them, and I don't like that. I wish I could fill them in to keep it pretty and neat. So I'm not sure if I'll actually use this. I might use the yearly spread at the very beginning, the yearly calendars that I showed you, and then transfer it to here. I might ignore them completely. And then you have quite a few pages of reading logs. I think you have 3. I'm just showing you this one because I wrote the names of my children on the others. But if you wanted to keep a reading log this way, you could. It actually includes a section for minutes. We don't track minutes or anything, and I track my children's reading logs separately, as you saw. There's a section for extracurricular activities with days of the week, activity, and cost. There's also a grading log where you have date, assignment, points possible, points earned, and the grade. I don't keep a grading log at this point, but if there is anything interesting to write down, for example, a standardized test score, I will do that. And then there's a separate field trip log as well, which includes location, cost, address, date, time, contact, the website, and a telephone number. And I might actually use the field trip log, though I don't believe one section really gives us enough for how many field trips we do, because I believe there's 10 slots here, and hopefully we'll do more than 10 field trips. And then there's thinking ahead for next year's goals, personal, organizational, planning, and professional goals, as well as curriculum ideas and field trip ideas. While this page is very pretty, I need far more than this amount of room to do next year's goal planning, and I have a section in my homeschool binder for that, which you'll also see in an upcoming video. So the real meat of my long-term planning, though, occurs in these checklist pages. This is the back, as I mentioned, where I track out each of the curricula, and that will give me this visual idea of where we are in any one curricula without tying it to a date. And I'm really proud of just coming up with a way of tracking something in a simple format. So in a couple pages I can see where we are in English. I don't have to flip through several different pages, and I'm just really happy with how the Plum Paper Planner allows me to do this. Just before I finish up, though, I'd like to say that one thing that makes this type of bullet journaling possible for homeschooling is just being really organized in your materials. So if I had a very disorganized classroom or a disorganized homeschool closet and it wasn't easy for me to access these things, this type of planning wouldn't work out for me. But because I have really organized bookshelves of resources organized by grade level and subject, it makes it really easy for me to select one book for a day or another and just work through this in an organized way. So if I want to switch from The Good and the Beautiful to All About Reading, it takes me 2 seconds and I don't have to hunt and peck for all the different curricula. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the very best day. Good luck with your homeschool planning.